Yo, yo. Good evening. Monday, February 22nd. Oh, shit, February. No. Monday, September 22nd. And beautiful thing about today is Soul Rising has officially hit the streaming platforms. So it's on Spotify, Tidal. Should be on Apple Music tomorrow. YouTube Music, all that, Pandora. And it's also available on my website. Link is in the description. SamuraiBlackMusic.com/soul rising, or you can just go to the homepage and find it on the banner. If you want to download a digital download, grab a vinyl or grab NFC tag keychain to where you get Soul Rising along with all of my catalog forever for one nice nifty price. You can feel free to do that. Cop a merch, cop a tee, a hoodie, poster, frame painting, whatever you want to do. So, anytime I release an album like this and I start listening to it, I notice nighttime I have this tendency of going back and reflecting over it and reflecting on the journey that I took to get to that point. So obviously I listened through the album myself earlier today, enjoyed it, sent it out to all my peoples. And then I started just moments ago, went back to about 4 or 5 albums back to the album I dropped in 2021 called Knocking the Bow to Shoot the Devil. And just started listening to what I was saying and feeling it just off the intro. That inspired me to come talk about it because it was obviously, even then, what's up, Biggie? What's up? Hey, Willow. What's up, brother? Um, am I a Christian? I was raised a Christian. We can get into that a little bit. Um, I I don't really bear a religion now. Not to say that I don't respect anyone who has a religion, because I respect everyone's religion as long as it isn't causing harm to anyone else. I found Christ. I know where he at. So as I'm listening to the intro on my first album, Knocking the Bow to Shoot the Devil, I hear myself say, Ram hit me up from Iraq, said he escaped Syria, heard Yoda, swear to God I can hear him tearing up. And that's in reference to a brother named Ram who was in Syria while Syria was under siege. And I remember he reached out to me. I don't remember what app it was, but he reached out to me and he said he wanted to work with me. He wanted to make a beat for me. So he made a beat, and it wasn't really the type of stuff I would typically rap on. But I remember, like, as we're talking about it, he's saying, he had to sell his laptop because, he's trying to get out of the town that he was in. They were actively shelling the town, and there's people around him that were being lost and stuff like that. And I didn't hear from him from a couple years, and then happened to reconnect with him right before I did that album. And I told him that I had used that beat and I had put it on a project. And can't really see the chat now anymore for some reason, but nonetheless. And as I'm talking to him, I sent him the song, and he was literally like shedding tears. He was so happy that he got to be able to live on through that project, regardless of what was going on where he was at. So the good story is, well, I guess you could say the good turn of that story was for him, just like I said in that song, he was able to make it to Iraq, which is, not the best destination, as we would know it from the U.S., but it was safer relatively than, where he was at. Or at least it wasn't actively being shelled at. And, starting to kind of get his footing over there, finding work and all these kind of things. And this, thinking about this got me to thinking how, regardless of like the geopolitical state of the world or what's going on, as far as with these entities, these corporations called countries that have their agendas, it's still people that are out there. And the people might be not necessarily in agreement with what's going on with their country, but they're still trying to live. They still got their own hopes and dreams. They still have their own things that they want to achieve and accomplish in their life. So it's important beyond the country borders and religion borders, and that's why I didn't really want to get into that with you, because I know people, like I said, I respect people's beliefs, but that doesn't necessarily mean I need to agree with them. But beyond all that, you have to make sure that you are respecting, in essence, the people. You have to make sure that the best you can, any moment, you're being kind to people and righteous and upfront and forthcoming. These things are very important in building a better world. So this reflection led me to when things really started to kind of take off in my first company, Mad Dragon Digital Media. And we started handling the media and marketing for several companies. Some of them you would know, some of them you may not know. Some of them may have designed the phone that you have in your hand. And one of the guys on my team, I had a team of about 130 people at one time, and then I trimmed it down to about 30 guys. And one of them, he had never edited a video before, never did any kind of marketing. He never did any of that kind of work. He literally learned while, basically under my wing, and I showed him the ropes. And he really started to take himself seriously with it. Spoiler alert, he was living in Israel, and this was right when things were about to start kicking off. I want to say maybe about 6 months before that October the 7th incident. And, he realized that he was in a place to where he really needed to be able to make a way for his family and his loved ones. He needed to be able to have a way to start creating income. So he started taking what I was showing him and what my team was showing him seriously, and boom, he started blowing up brands. He started getting really good. He started pushing sales. Like he really started to get the hang of it, to where he was at one point, coming from no experience, he was at one point one of the top performers on my team. I was super proud of him to see that, because I saw it from scratch. I saw him going through every lesson I was teaching him. I saw him showing up on calls. I saw him, really asking the right questions to make himself a better marketer, a better salesman, and just a better individual altogether. He's a really great guy. And it kind of hit the point to where, all right, what started happening, in with Israel and the other surrounding countries and stuff like that. That started happening, and he got called to drafted into the IDF, into the Israeli Defense Force, and he had very mixed feelings about it. He didn't really want to go to war. He didn't want to harm anybody. He just wanted to build a way for his family. But at the same time, he knew that he didn't really have a choice. Mind you, he was just 17, just turned 18. And, he basically went ahead and took care of his duties. Now, we kept in touch for about the next year and change while he was over there. And, while he's going through boot camp and he's going through these training exercises and stuff like that. And, he's passing, lessons just on mindset and, business and stuff that he's picking up while he's over there. He's passing it back to my team. And, we're enjoying still being able to communicate with him. At the same time, same token, We're all praying that he makes it through. We're praying that he makes it through alive. We needed him to survive for us. And that's what it's like when you're living the life of a man in a world that's at war. Sometimes you have to pick up your arms and you have to go to war with whatever the opposition may be. Sometimes you may not like it, you may not want to, but sometimes you don't really have a choice. You have to do what's right. You have to do what you have to do to survive. So, this is a shout out to those brothers, to their brother that was on my team that is now hopefully still alive and thriving and in the Israeli Defense Force, and to the brother who was in Syria and just wanted to send me a beat for me to put on my album that I put on the album, and he made it out of that war alive. To anybody who's going through difficult situations, wherever your country is, wherever your circumstances are, just know there's always a way out. There's always a way to get ahead. There's always a way to turn things around to where you can build the life that you want to live and you want to build. You may not see it yet. It may take a moment to find it. It may take a moment to get your bearings. But if you have an idea, you have a vision in mind, you can attain that vision. You can bring it to reality. This is something I talked with my team quite a bit, especially over the last month. I've been talking with them quite a bit about this when it comes to having a clear image and vision of the things that you want to do and you want to achieve. The clearer that image is, how did Neville Goddard put it? Feeling is the secret, right? The clearer the image is, the more you can sit down with it in silence. Imagine yourself in it. Imagine your hand holding that thing. Imagine what it feels like to be in the environment. Imagine the smells, the sights, what tastes may be in the air. Imagine the sounds that you'll hear when you finally have attained that thing, when you finally got to that destination that you're intending to get to in that journey of yours. The clear, let's just sum all of this up as the image, right? Even though we're talking about all the senses, really it's just one sense, and that's touch. The clearer that image is of that thing that you want to attain, and the more focus and emotion and energy you pour towards it, the quicker it will come to you. The more precise it will manifest in your realm, in your reality. And before you know it, you'll be there. Real quick, there's this man that was named Neville Goddard. He passed a lot of works along. He passed down a lot of works. He wrote books. He was doing seminars, all these kind of things, and he was sharing these teachings with people that basically were showing them how to be able to attain what they want, how to get rich, how to create the life you want, etc., whatever you wanted it to be. And there's this exercise. If you go after this video, if you go search up Elmer O. Locker Jr. And just search that and grandfather. So Elmer Locker Jr., grandfather. His grandfather was one of Neville Goddard's students, and he shared the experience that he had when he went to one of Neville Goddard's meetings. He actually became one of his VIP students. And in one of Neville Goddard's book, he wrote an acknowledgement to this grandfather for basically taking on the principles that he was teaching and really exemplifying them and creating the life that he wanted. He became a multimillionaire himself and lived a very good life. But there was this exercise that Goddard had these people doing, and he basically called it the ladder exercise. So what he would do is he would say, okay, I want you to close your eyes, and this works best in a quiet environment. If you're sitting in a chair, if you're laying in bed, turn the lights off and just imagine it. Close your eyes and imagine that you're standing in front of a ladder, and I want you with your right hand to reach up and grab the right side of the ladder. And then you put your left hand on the left side of the ladder. And then with your right and left hand grabbing it, mind you, this is in your mind's eye, your imagination. With your right and left hand holding on to the sides of the ladder, now I want you to step your right foot up onto the first ring of the ladder. And then I want you to imagine stepping your left foot onto the second ring. And then reach your right hand up, further up the right side. And then right foot, and then left hand, etc. All the way on, and thoroughly imagine yourself climbing a ladder. Now, this exercise gets interesting because as you go through the process, obviously you start very vividly imagining being on a ladder, right? And then what he said I want you to do is I want you to write down on a sticky note, I will not climb a ladder. Put it on the mirror, put it in the card of your wallet, post it up in your car, on the mirror, post it up everywhere on your whiteboard, wherever, on your desk. I will not climb a ladder, and I want you to pick this up, read it 10 times each time you read it, whether it's in the morning, read it in the evening. I will not climb a ladder. And then he said, those of you that end up climbing a ladder, I want you to come back and see me for this next meeting. So obviously the grandfather was like, man, this guy's out of his mind. What the hell is he talking about? Like, this dude's crazy. You talking about ladders? I came here to learn how to make money. He's saying he has the secrets to help us get rich and earn all the things we want. He's talking about some damn ladders. This dude's insane. All right, well, I'm going to do this just to prove him wrong. And what happened? All of a sudden, he starts seeing ladders all around town as he's traveling. Just random places, ladder, ladder, ladder. But he's still repeating in his mind, I will not climb a ladder. I will not climb a ladder. Then he forgets about it for a few days. And all of a sudden, his mother and father, because he was a young man at the time, I think he was like in his 20s. His mother and father call for him to come visit. And when he pulls up in the driveway, his father's on top of the roof working on painting the roof or, retiling or something like that. And his father asks, while on the roof, when he pulls up to the driveway, he's like, hey, can you bring that bucket of paint up here? And without thinking of it, just being a good son, he's like, okay, sure, Dad. And he grabs the bucket of paint, goes over to the ladder, and starts climbing up. And before he knows it, he's at the top of the roof on the ladder. And he passed out because he freaked out at the fact that he ended up climbing the ladder just like Neville Goddard said he would. Now, the premise of this and the purpose of this, while this sounds like kind of a wild exercise and it sounds kind of irrelevant, but it really isn't. So I want you to stick with me if you're really listening to this. The thing that Neville Goddard said when they first arrived at that next meeting, where it was much less people, because most people wouldn't have even bothered following those first instructions, was that he said something to the effect of, all right, so for those, now that you guys have climbed the ladder, I want you to know that by the same effort that you took in climbing that ladder with the same steps and process, you could have just as easily made $1 million. It's the same process. Feeling is the secret. You imagine yourself in the end. You imagine yourself at the place where that objective is completed. And that's the key. I've done this so many times. This kind of stuff works so powerfully that sometimes it kind of scares me, and I don't endeavor to take it on, or I haven't, let's say in the past, endeavored to take it on in such a way to where I can really go for the things that I really want. But I'm going to show y'all a ladder climb. And it's not just about money, right? Sometimes it's about impact. Sometimes it's about, like I said, the souls that you can touch, the people you can inspire. That's what it's about for me. So now that we're 20 minutes into this talk, Soul Rising for me, even though yes, I probably could have done a bit better with the mastering, probably could have recorded in a better studio, all these things. As I listen through this body of work, especially with it out there in the world now, Soul Rising is the epitome of me pushing the right light, me pushing true light. It's the epitome of the messaging that I've always wanted to put out ever since I picked up a pen and picked up a microphone and started rapping. It's the pinnacle. And it's not just me. The beautiful thing about this project is that there's about 20 other very talented artists that are all sharing their piece of the puzzle. Some of them are singing, some are rapping. There's some sisters on there doing their thing. There's some spoken word. There's some speeches. There's some free form poetry. This is really the most incredible album that I've been able to put together in my life. I'm so honored to do this, or so honored to have been able to do this thus far, hands down. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit different, and chances are if you're sitting in here listening to this and hearing this man ramble in the dark, walking back and forth in the driveway, chances are you're listening for a reason, right? So if you're looking for something that's a little bit different, I highly urge you, first of all, subscribe to the channel. And second of all, you can either on my channel go to the videos and play the Soul Rising visualizer, or hit the link in the description, and it'll take you to my website where I have all the streaming links. You can always search me up, Samurai Black, $AMURAI Black, and find the album on your streaming platform. It should be on Apple Music tomorrow. All the other platforms, it's already there. But I assure you, this is nothing like any body of work you have ever heard before. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm so proud of this, and I wouldn't have been able to do this by myself. So this is what I think when I reflect back on Soul Rising. Everything I've been through, every battle, every scar, every trial and tribulation, every triumph, it was all worthwhile. Because the man or the woman that you are today is a culmination of all the experiences that you've had up to this point in your life. So what are you going to do with that? This is the question I ask myself every day. What are you going to do with this man that you are today? Well, self, you're just going to have to stick around and find out. Peace in the Lamb is truly wonderful. Hadou Sashug, divine love. Peace.